True story.
Yeah. Just thrown off the edge. I don't know what happened there. So that's the King of the Hill formula. And how you implement that formula into your map is, if you're already a little confused, how you implement that formula into your map then is dictated by what you want the players to kind of be doing, how varied you want the gameplay, because like TF2 has always been described as a close quarter gameplay game. And so you don't want to have very big open areas, partially again for optimization reasons, but also just for gameplay reasons. What do you mean I'm missing map PL Moonlit B6?
I don't have this map. What the heck?
Crash, what are you doing? Did Crash crash?
I'm still here. You cannot hear me?
Yeah, no, I couldn't hear you. I do not have PL Moonlit B6. I thought I just installed that.
That's really strange. Did it work for you, Ibo?
I'm still downloading it.
I'm not even downloading it. Hold on, I can. Missing map. I do. I apparently do. Oh, I do have it. It is zipped. Give me 1 second.
10 out of 10. It should have auto downloaded though for you too. That's really weird.
Well, because I think it read the PL Moonlit B6 BSP.bz2, and then it was like, yeah, this is it, and then it's not. Lord Poon, the checkmark next to my name.
It's been a really long time since I played this map.
It means that I'm verified.
Someone in chat asked who's the guy interviewing us.
Hi everyone, my name's Frozen. I made the map Snowplow, the best map in the world that everyone loves. I say that,
There's
but
errors in here. They probably were community items like hats or something, and they changed the file name. They did that to me on Probed, actually.
Zekel, you put it in a folder. Lord Poon, I actually, I do not believe so.
What say you about Snowplow being too confusing for new players?
I will tell you in a second once I get this map back into where it needs to be. Let me just make sure that I have Moonlit here. Yeah, I'm just straight delete it. And I'll re-download it. Ah! Give me 1 second, everybody. Make sure this works. Okay, and now I'm downloading it. So, so CP Snowplow, if for those of you who don't know, was a map that I created alongside the End of the Line team. They made the End of the Line update for Team Fortress 2, and I co-worked on the map with another mapper named YM. He made Hoodoo and Manor, and Snowplow was the other map that he worked on. And it was supposed to go out with the End of the Line update, but a few weeks beforehand, after we had about 98% of the map done in detail, we sent it to Valve. Valve said no, and because it was too confusing for new players. At the time, I was a little confused because I had no idea what they meant by that. I don't really want to get into it too much, just because it's old news but I think looking back, I very much agree with what they were saying. I think we probably could have done a better job of introducing how things were put together and how I think it was mostly the game mode, and I think that the game mode itself probably could have been streamlined a bit better. Thanks for the
Also,
ammo.
it was a terrible map, and you should feel bad.
I do feel bad, except I don't, because I was able to fit all the penguins in there, and everyone's like, "Wait, there's penguins in there?" It's like, yeah, I hid penguins.
Penguins? No, what?
Oh yeah, no, I hid like 17 penguins, or not 17, like 7 penguins.
I know about the ducks, but
Yeah, no, I hid penguins all over Snowplow.
I've got to find those penguins.
I didn't tell anyone, and there's one that one person, I think there's only one penguin that someone has found only once.
Yeah, it's new information to some people in my chat too.
Oh yeah, no, there's penguins. I will give you a little bit of a hint. They are heavily focused around stage 2, because that was the version of the map that was the stage of the map that I worked on. So, anyways, we're now on Payload. Payload was probably the map. It's probably the game mode that a lot of people. I said this earlier, but Payload is kind of the game mode that people argue really saved TF2 and really brought it forward in terms of mainstreamness. The point of this game mode is there's this cart down there, and now instead of two teams fighting each other like we were on King of the Hill, it is now one team pushing this cart, which they do by standing around it, and another team, which that's the team that I'm on right now, Red. They are the ones that are preventing them from pushing it, so they can stop the movement of the cart by standing near it, or killing everybody who's around the cart. And the goal is to take the cart along a preset track and to the finish. And along the track there are checkpoints, and those checkpoints will prevent the cart from rolling back any further. So if nobody's on the cart for a certain amount of time, the cart...
Like 30 seconds?
I forget. I might be variable. I don't remember. I've only ever made like one technical... No, I made 2 payload maps before. But the cart will start to roll around if nobody's actually done it. Oh god, Crash, the skybox is missing.
Frozen's explaining this in stream.
It's not missing for me.
Oh, why is everything busted on my end then?
You need to get good.
I really do.
So it's worth mentioning that this is actually a really old Halloween map.
Yeah.
Tell.
2010, I think.
Old school TF2 design a little bit. Real choky. Things have changed over the years with TF2, for sure.
Honestly, I really prefer TF2's new design. It's so much better.
It's interesting when you compare older maps to newer maps, because I mean, like the thing that makes TF2 outside of hats is really its maps. I mean, there's like tens upon 50, 60, 70, 80, I want to say almost 100 maps in game.
I think it's over 100.
Yeah, I lost track. Yeah, so Haha Goni, I believe it. Yeah, there we go. I don't have my proper glasses on, so I can barely read my chat. But Haha Goni was saying that Mercenary Park follows the old TF2 design, which I would kind of actually agree with.
So what's this now? We're pushing a cart into...
Yeah, so for this was part of the dynamic payload contest. Oh god, I'm gonna die. Never mind. This is part of the dynamic payload contest, and what he did was at certain points, if you capture, like if you capture the thing, it opens up a portal to the underworld, and if you can push it through the underworld, which is a shorter distance, you come out much later, and you can save yourself a bunch of time and get bonuses and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a trade-off between going in and doing damage or not. But it's on a perpetual rollback, so if you're able to push it through, then you get a nice advantage.
We are getting hella camp though. I think it's slowly going through though too.
Nope, it just rolled back. So, yeah, so payload design is interesting because I'm trying to think of like a more modern games that other people might have played that kind of match what TF2 did with payload.
Overwatch payload?
Overwatch payload would make sense, but Overwatch payload has a capture point related to it, which not many people have done in this.
There's that's a mode entirely, isn't it?
That's escort.
Well, no, because they have payload, and then they have like the hybrid one where you get capture point, and then you have to push it.
Crap, which
There's plenty where you just push a payload though.
Oh, you're right. The new one that just came out.
I have not played that
The Junkyard. The Junkyard one has it. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. No, but yeah, no, you're right. But so it's like Overwatch payload if you've played that. So the design of it is much different. So we were talking with King of the Hill. We were talking about the spawn, yard, buffer, yard, point. With payload, it's a lot different because you don't have layers of maps, so you can't you could divide like a King of the Hill map into rectangles, basically. And those rectangles you can assign like the spawn yard, buffer, yard, point. With payload, you can't actually do that. If you did that, it gets really kind of like a boring payload map, and it's not as fun. So what you have to do a little bit is you kind of fudge the rules a little bit here, and each checkpoint you kind of assume to be a point similar to like well, we haven't played capture point yet, but be kind of similar to like a point that you actually have to capture. And once you hit that, then it kind of resets the level moving forward. So red, who is always defending in TF2, red is always defending, blue is always attacking. The point is, it's called a checkpoint for a reason, and you basically almost reset the design at that point. So you build up to the first point. The point and the area around it is kind of like the point for King of the Hill. That's the yard. That's where all the fun stuff is. Then you have to do it again for the next point, and the distance varies between these, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. That's the path that the payload will be taking, kind of like as a progress bar, and each of the red dots, red bullseyes there, those are the checkpoints. Now let me turn down my audio.
I just gotta talk a little smack there.
Crash. I'm so angry.
Did Crash just kill you?
Yeah.
Good
He
job.
body shot me. I was medic.
You got body. That's insulting.
Mind you, also dropped.
Yeah, I also dropped it full over.
Oh no!
Very important distinction that we have to clarify there.
Yeah.
That she dropped.
I knew there was a sniper, and I was so scared, but I got killed.
So the thing with payload design is that you really need to, you have to build around this cart, so it's kind of like a very linear canyon. And as you're building around the cart, you build up your flank routes and your chokes around it. So usually there's a choke point right before the capture, because the checkpoint, because the checkpoint is your reward, more or less, for making it through the choke point that you get, and each choke point becomes progressively harder, where the final point is supposedly to be the hardest one. Though there's some maps that don't really follow that. Where like the third point is the hardest, and then like the fourth point is the third hardest, or something like that. One of the earlier Cactus Canyons, I remember, like was terribly bad at it.
I don't think I played Cactus Canyon like ever, unless I think I played it like twice.
The
I
early,
think it was, like, the last version.
The early Cactus Canyon had a really bad choke point at one point, where blue could not go anywhere past that point. Like they couldn't get behind the point, which you should always be doing. You should always allow flank points around the choke point. So just quick primer. Choke point is basically a point at which the attacking team is funneled through, and the less options they have, the harder it is to move through, because the easier it is to defend. So choke points are kind of like a flow limiter, which we've talked about before in the past in the wild. Please excuse the skybox. My game's a little bugged up here. I'll get it fixed after this map. But the flow you can limit by, oh, not the flow, the pacing, excuse me. The pacing you can fix and limit and regulate with choke points. So this choke point is basically just a very difficult spot to break through. And
when a map is all choke points, like CP Dust Bowl, for example, that's when it's not exactly the best map.
but the thing with that though is you also need to remember that Dust Bowl is one of the first maps put into TF2 back. Yeah, back when there was like only 3 weapons per class. Now there is many more, and so the ability to, oh god, there's a sentry right there. So like the ability to defend is a lot easier for teams to do, because it is so much easier because it was built for an older time. So the more as weapons get added, the more we as level designers, or you if you're doing it, or iiboharz would have to consider those weapons when moving forward. And so I'm trying to think, like, I think there's really only been 3 times when a weapon has come out and it's like completely broken how we do level design, and I think that was the Wrangler and the Rescue Ranger during the NG update, the base jumper, and then
the Rescue Ranger wasn't in the NG update.
Being able to move your sentry was a pretty crazy thing early on, too.
And being able to control your sentry too was huge.
Increasing the range of it, yeah.
Yeah. And then the base jumper came in, which didn't have as huge of an impact as the Rescue Ranger, but still a notable one. That was a triple kill. And then most recently, I would argue the thermal thruster for the pyro.
I don't think
I think it's big. I don't think it's as big as the Rescue Ranger though. Rescue Ranger and the Wrangler were like the biggest.
Much because there's a lot of dumb things you could do to get up places as a pyro already.
They can just jump higher now. And to kind of, and for those who don't know TF2, there's 2 jumping classes. That would be the Demo Man and the Soldier, who can use detonation jumping. So I'll demonstrate. Like this is, I throw a sticky down, and if I right click while I'm on top of it, I launch myself. That's detonation. That's sticky jumping. And then with a rocket launcher, I can do the same thing just by aiming it at my feet and jumping. And that allows you to get a little bit higher than you normally can. And there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with that. And it makes the Demo and the Soldier pretty good at flanking on top of the Scout and stuff. The thermal thruster basically allows the pyro to do something to a similar degree, but not necessarily the exact same degree. Oops, sorry, pyro.
Honestly, playing this map makes you want to make a payload map.
Payload's fun. I like
Payload is one of those, like, being an asymmetrical design, it's really, really fun to just kind of go nuts and make something. You don't have to make it symmetrical on every side. Like, if you're starting to modify, like, a 5CP map or a King of the Hill map, and you're making a change on one side, you have to immediately make it on the other. And just, you get kind of confined in the design of it because of that.
It's also fun to just design for a moving objective.
Yeah.
Which payload is. So like with King of the Hill, we had a very static objective, the single point in the middle of the map. With 5CP, we have their preset points, and then with like say, I'm trying to think of the other one. So like then with payload, the objective is obviously the payload itself, but it's moving. So you have to keep that in mind when you're designing the level, is that people are going to be coming at the track from so many different angles. So you can't necessarily make you can't follow the. I mean, that basically breaks the Koth formula that we were talking about, and you'll see that it'll break and not really allow any of the other formulas to. That we'll be looking at later. What's the next map, by the way?